So the story I want to tell you tonight starts with who would arguably be the greatest king in the history of the world, King David. And yet, at the time of this story, he wasn't yet king. Although he was anointed king, he was being chased by King Saul, who knew that if he didn't deal with David, King David was going to take his kingdom. So he chased David all over the countryside, and David, with his band of brothers, ran and hid in caves and in camps and other countries and went all over the place. That's where this story really takes shape, is in 1000 BC in 1 Samuel 25. They're in the area of Mount Carmel. And in that area was a man named Nabal and his wife Abigail. And the person I want to talk about today, the incredible legend that I want you to know about, is this woman named Abigail. Now, Nabal was a mean, it says he was a surly man. He just was, he just had a bad attitude all the time. And Abigail was this beautiful and intelligent woman. And David had been in that area with Nabal's flock, and he had watched over Nabal's flock. He had taken time and energy to protect them from any lions that would try to come and take a sheep or bandits that would want to steal them. And David kind of took care of them because he was family. They were both from the family of Judah. Well, it was around sheep shearing season, and David knew it was that time of the for Nabal, that time of the year for Nabal. So he sent 10 young men to come and to find Nabal sheep shearing, and it would have looked like snow all over the ground. Nabal had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, so he is a wealthy man. And when he would shear his sheep, and all that wool all over the place, it would be a party because it was like a paycheck at that time. So he would bring out all the food, and they would have sheep and goat, and it was just a time to party and enjoy that season of time. Well, David knew that was the case, so he sent these 10 young men to get some food and some stuff for them and their band of brothers. And these 10 young men come down to Nabal, and they see him there, and they say, "Hey, Nabal, we come from David, and David asked that you give us something for all the care we gave your sheep and protecting your sheep." And Nabal, being the surly, kind of rude, just that kind of grouchy man, says, "Who's David?" And instead of just leaving it and saying no, he goes, "And who's his dad? Jesse." Like, he couldn't leave it there. He had to respond in just a very confrontational way. So these 10 young men, who are probably pretty upset as well, because they were expecting to bring something back, go back to David and they tell him, "Hey, Nabal said," he was pretty rude. Not only did he not say no, he even insulted you and your dad. Well, David, being, a man and defending his honor, said, "You know what? Go strap on your swords, get on your horse. We're going to go down there, and we're going to just tell Nabal who we really are." Meanwhile, Abigail hears from their servants what Nabal says. In fact, one of the servants had overheard the entire conversation and came to Abigail and said, "Abigail, you have to do something, because Nabal was being Nabal, and he insulted those men and sent them away, and you know what's going to happen." And Abigail's like, "Yeah, whenever you get 2 men and all of that stuff going on, they'll throw reason to the wind. We better do something." So Abigail quickly moved, got 300 loaves of bread, 5 dressed sheep, roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisin, 200 cakes of fig, and packed them on a donkey, and they headed out to find David. Well, they found him coming down a hill in all of his fury, ready to take out Nabal. And Abigail, the moment she saw him, she gets off the donkey, she bows down to David, hoping that he'll be the man that she hoped he would be. And she bowed before David and she said, "David, please disregard the statement of my husband. We know he's a surly man. In fact, his name meant fool. And she even said that. She goes, his name means fool, so please know that he's just being a fool. Will you please not do any harm to our family or to him? Now, this is the incredible thing about Abigail. She kind of does Jedi mind tricks on David. And she goes, you aren't going to kill Nabal. He goes, I'm not going to kill Nabal? No, you're not going to kill Nabal because you're not going to bring that blood on your head, because God has plans for you that are far greater than what's going on in this whole thing right now. It's incredible because God had a plan for David's life. Just stop and consider, if Abigail had not done this, what would have come of David's kingdom? God and Abigail participated together to get David to see that this was a detour, that this was an attempt to try to keep him from becoming the kind of king God needed. And so King David said, you're right, Abigail, I agree with you. And he returned and left Nabal alone. Well, Abigail, after a successful mission, goes back and finds Nabal drunk at the party, eating, doing the thing, just all the stuff that goes along with that. She doesn't tell him what she did until the next morning. And this is the crazy thing. The next morning, when she tells him what she had done, it said that Nabal basically had a stroke and could not talk, and in 10 days he died.
Wowzer.
It's incredible, because when Abigail was with David, she said, don't avenge what happened. Let God be your avenger. What was interesting, after David had heard that Nabal had died, he proposed to Abigail, and she quickly said yes and got on her donkey, and they lived happily ever after. Now, you know what's interesting? There's 3 questions you have to ask yourself. 1, do I really want to get even with someone I don't even like? You know, if you're going to get even with someone, that means you have to be even with them. That means you have to act like they act to get back at them. Abigail basically goes to David and says, do you realize that God has a plan for your life, and that getting even with someone really takes you out of his plan for your life? We all face times, and we all face Nabals in our life. People that make us angry, situations that get us upset. And a lot of times we spend a lot of energy, we spend a lot of imagination at how we're going to get even. Just think about that. What if we spent that same energy and that same time, rather than getting even, just pursuing what God's called us to? The second question is, what story do you want to tell when what happened is just the story? What do you want to tell your kids? What would that have said to his children and to his grandchildren? Oh yeah, Nabal did this and I went and killed him. And no, what David told, what the story David told was, I could have went and done that. And I could have done what any other person would have done easily. But I was a man of character, and I made a decision to treat him as he deserved to be treated, and to let God avenge me and not to do it myself. What would it look like for me to return good for evil? What would it look like if I returned good for evil? Man, in a world where if you do evil to me, I cancel you out of my life. I just get rid of you. I just return evil to you because you deserved it. What if we didn't do the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto us? What if we did unto others as Christ did unto us? And isn't that what separates us from everyone else? You know what was incredible about Abigail? Abigail was a woman of incredible wisdom. She not only saved David's purpose, she saved her family and her servants. And not only did she save that small group of people by just giving David this little bit of wisdom, she saved an entire nation. What would it look like for you to return good for evil to someone?